Good evening, YouTube. Welcome, YouTube, to this episode of FPL Family. This is our Game Week 28 review. My name is Lee. This is Sam. Welcome. If this is your first time to FPL Family, well done for finding us and thank you for joining us. Going to be a bit of an interesting start to this one, I think, because we've got YouTube challenges / changes afoot, guys. The more astute of you will know that we set up a bit different on YouTube today. We've had this countdown going on. We've had a lot of you in the live chat already, so thank you if you're already in the live chat. I've got all sorts of new software going around with the new YouTube studio. So first things first, I would love to know that you can hear us and that you can see us correctly, because right now I'm not sure whether it's working or not. So if somebody can get in and tell me that everything's good, then that is good. That is good. Welcome. This is our Game Week 28 reaction. Loads to discuss. Absolutely loads to discuss. First things first, well done, Manchester City. Man City fans, congratulations. First piece of silverware from the 1920 season. The Carabao Cup is on its way to the Etihad. Thoughts on the game? Anything to discuss about Man City's dominance? Although Villa could have nicked it with that header at the death. What a save from Claudio Bravo.
Yeah, I mean, Villa were in it for longer than I thought they'd be. I thought they'd be out of it before they were. But yeah, good result. And nice for David Silva, right, in his final season to lift a piece of silverware.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, well done, City.
Yeah, it was kind of rooting.
Kind of expected, wasn't it, really? Though?
Yeah, I think so. I was kind of obviously like to see. Would like the underdog to do. It would have been nice for Villa to get a piece of silverware, of course, because City have had
they did feel a bit
their fair share, haven't they? Let's face it. Well, yeah, he's got plenty of silverware on his horizon, I'm pretty sure. I saw a stat actually as I was coming on Twitter saying that Pep Guardiola has won a trophy every 22 games in his career. How insane is that? Absolutely sensational. So there we go. So Pep Guardiola, another trophy in the Man City cabinet. So Man City fans, congratulations. Villa fans, commiserations. Clearly now got to focus on the league. Got to focus on the league. What a bonkers game week. Difficult game week. Again, I feel like we're here. We are again on a Sunday night saying, oh my God, wasn't that game week difficult? And it was. It was a tough one. First of all, your thoughts and reactions on Friday night. Cast your mind back. 5 minutes before deadline, Norwich versus Leicester.
Jamie Vardy.
It went absolutely ridiculous, didn't it? Ridiculous. Some rumour coming through on Twitter and other places about potentially Vardy not playing from some, I'm not going to say untrustworthy sources, but just sources that we had no reason to trust because new sources that none of us had ever really heard of before. And then a Twitter account that is a very reliable source, particularly when it comes to Leicester, Sean from Enderby. If you're not following Sean, I think it's probably a good idea to go follow him. That comes through as something that, and he says, actually, I agree, Vardy might be out. All of a sudden, team news ahoy, and everybody's getting rid of Vardy. People taking hits for Iheanacho, people taking hits for Giroud, people bringing in Harvey Barnes and goodness knows who else. So
a lot of Perez is going on.
A lot of Jose Perez is going on.
All of a sudden, Perez was in 1,000 teams.
It was crazy, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And then actually that game, it was a pretty dire game, actually. Cast your mind back to Friday. Norwich won Leicester 0. Pretty bad game.
Yeah.
Norwich ground it out, actually,
and
which is something we're not used to seeing.
No, I thought they deserved it.
I think they just about did. They just about did. More on that game a bit later on, as well as some of the other games. We are not going to talk at all about the game at Vicarage Road. Of course, we're going to talk about the game at Vicarage Road. What's to say about that game?
All of you, just be grateful. Just be grateful that you weren't sat on some steps at the O2 in the cold, watching Lovren do Lovren things with Lee last night. Because he was in a really nice, happy mood, apart from the nonsense that was going on with our FPL teams. But you were in a good mood all day.
Yeah.
We'd had a nice dinner. Then just before we went in to see the gig, then we were watching the Liverpool game, and Lee's mood just went as soon as the team news came out, and it was Lovren.
First of all, no bars in the O2 showing the football.
No.
It's the first disappointing thing. So we're sitting on some steps, as you rightly say, in the freezing cold, because the O2, despite being the old Millennium Dome and having a big canvas over the top of it,
it's warm inside.
It's still
but
cold,
not in
right?
not in the like.
Yeah, the arena's fine, but the outside bit. Yeah, the outside bit.
What's it called?
I don't know. The atrium or whatever you want to call it. Concourse.
Concourse. Yeah.
Concourse. The bit where the shops are and the restaurants.
Yeah.
Still freezing cold. We're sitting there on a stone step, so bottoms are cold, watching Liverpool on my phone, and it was just coming up just after half-time, wasn't it, just kicking off?
Yeah, we missed the first half.
So it was 0-0, missed the first half, didn't feel like we'd missed much there.
We couldn't get any signal, could we, at dinner?
And then Ismaila Sarr just goes on a bit of a masterclass, to be fair, a bit of a masterclass. And I went on Twitter about halfway through the second half, and I went on again after it, just as we were settling in to watch the gig that we were at last night, laying into Lovren, and I was getting some mixed reaction to that on Twitter. Let's just say that about that a bit later on. Guys, we're going to do things a little bit differently here this evening. There are two things to say that's changed under this new YouTube studio setup. The first thing to say is that the chat has actually got a dark-themed background. We've got a black background now, which is kind of interesting.
Have we hit the dark side then?
We've gone to the dark side. That is what FPL Game Week 28 has taken us. So we've taken us to the dark side. It was that bad, frankly. So we've got a black chat background now, which is kind of interesting. The other thing to say is that I haven't figured out yet, and I'm pretty sure there isn't a way, to do polls.
What?
On the new YouTube studio.
What?
I was chatting to Andy, Let's Talk FPL, about his setup and how he does it as well. And he's like, no, I've genuinely never not done polls in the new YouTube setup, so I don't know how to do it.
Well, if Andy can't do it, then...
Well, we both had a look at it, and I think we concluded that it wasn't that we couldn't do it, it was just no way to do it. So, YouTube, if you're listening, polls, please. But what we are going to do is I did go out in the usual way to the community to ask for questions for this evening, and I went out to the Patreon community to thank you guys in the Slack for slacking me your questions. What we're going to do is dedicate a little bit...
Slacking me your questions.
What's the right verb?
I don't know.
Slacking. Chatting me your questions.
I'm pretty sure that slacking me isn't the right word.
That's a thing.
What?
You can be slacked.
Right. Question.
Go on.
Where's your Liverpool mug?
No, going for the shiny Starbucks one today.
It's in the
Saving
cupboard.
on washing up.
Saving on washing up. I mean, I'm just saying.
Doesn't deserve to come out this week, I can tell you. It doesn't deserve it.
Notice that you lose a game, suddenly you're not using your mug.
Not using the mug, well.
Glory hunter. We lose a game, I'm still loyal.
When was the last time Spurs hunted any glory? Let's face it.
Until I die.
Oh, Jesus.
What's up with you?
Get over yourself. Slackers, thank you for slacking me earlier. If that's the right verb to use, I don't know if it is. We are going to dedicate a little bit of the show at the end towards community questions. So once we've talked about the games and we've talked about maybe we'll do the games, then we'll do the community questions for a little while, and then we'll talk about our teams and overall ranks and stuff. A lot of the other podcasters do it. They do like a little community questions section, so maybe we'll do that as well instead of polls. So there we go, guys. That is the plan for this evening. Before we do that, we're going to say hello to a few people. And we're going to say hello to Azzy. Thank you, Azzy, for the super chat. He's saying, first stream, both of your teams have lost in the same week ever. That's the first time Liverpool have lost in about 45 weeks, game weeks at least, in the Premier League, Azzy. So,
I mean, I'm used to mine losing, so...
Pretty good chance that, it's a very long time since both our teams lost in the same game week. No doubt about it.
Maybe it might be like... what's that film where, like... when it happens at the same time, they switch. So suddenly, because...
Spurs top of the league? That's just my iPad going off in the corner.
What's going on? Suddenly, Spurs are going to be brilliant.
I doubt it, dear. I doubt it. But let's see. Who knows? Neil Craston is in. How are you doing? He's saying slackers slacking.
Slackers are slacking.
It's definitely a thing.
Slackers are slacking.
Jeffrey Holt is here. How are we doing, Jeff? Having an absolutely amazing season, by the way, Jeff Holt. An amazing season, up in the top 2K, I think, Jeff.
Yeah, I think he's just overtaken me.
Sensational.
We were level at the start of this game week, exactly, I think.
Very good. Gaz Temple is in. He's saying happy with 37 points. I think you should be, Gaz. I don't think that is a bad score for this game.
I think if you got in the 30s, you should be happy this week.
Go. I think you should be. Martin Boyle is in. Sam's mug is the closest to a cup Spurs will ever get. Yes! Yes, Martin. Enjoying that, mate.
So I've got to tell you a funny story. I've got quickly. I know that you said we've got to be a bit less waffly tonight because of the community stuff. But
correct. But you're going on a waffle anyway.
Right, this is going to be a complete tangent, and it's only because it's reminded me of a conversation we had with our little boy earlier. So as you all well know by now, Max's favourite Spurs player is Wanyama.
We don't know why.
We don't know why.
Genuinely.
Nobody knows why, but he loves him. So I said, and he was talking about Wanyama, and I said, right, after school tomorrow, we will write Victor Wanyama a letter and we'll post it to him at the training ground. We'll see if he writes back. Because I don't think anyone else's favourite player is Wanyama, let's be honest. So
no one's writing to Wanyama.
No, exactly. I bet Kane and that, they get letters all the time.
Yeah.
I bet Wanyama's never had one. So when Max's letter arrives, he's going to be so buzzing.
Even Serge Aurier's got a letter or two after today.
I reckon, yes. but not Wanyama. Anyway, so we're looking through. Max is like, I sent a sticker to him from his Panini Swapsies. So we're looking for the Wanyama one, and we come across we've got a spare Swapsy trophy, haven't we?
Right, yes.
So I'm like, send him that. It's the closest Spurs will get to the trophy this season.
We have actually got a Swapsy of Victor Wanyama Wanyama himself.
We have, so we send him himself and the trophy.
He will be buzzing.
He'll be delighted, won't he?
He'll be delighted to be getting the Panini Premier League sticker off the trophy.
Total tangent. My apologies for that, but there you are.
Do you remember what I said to you before we come on?
Yes, I know, but I thought
no waffle.
It was relevant to the. To the mug.
Got to try and get into an hour, no waffle. Plenty to talk about. Community question.
Imagine, but if Victor Wanyama writes back, I'll let you all know next week.
Victor, if you're watching, there we go. Josh is in. Josh is in and moderating. Josh, how are we doing? Good evening. Alex Wicks is here. How are we doing, Alex? Very nice to see you. Aaron Chen is in. Hello, how are we doing? Very nice to see you. Abhishek is in. Mac Morrison is in. How are we doing, Mac? Azzy is in. I've already mentioned Azzy. Another mention for Azzy. How are we doing? Anthony Gary from our Slack is in. How are we doing, Anthony? Very nice to see you. Avi Moodley is here. He says, Alonso is back, Sam. Go Alonso is back.
I felt like yesterday I entered the twilight zone because suddenly I'm talking about players that we've not spoken about for years. What is Alonso doing?
Same as last week, wasn't it?
Yeah, what's going on? I'm starting to think I might need to bring Alonso back.
Second in Game Week 28 for overall BPS, by the way. Second.
But you can't bring Alonso back, can you? Can you trust him?
41 BPS for Alonso this week. Only bettered by Ismail Assar, who we will talk about a bit later on. But Alonso, 41.
Maybe we should all pile on the Alonso train.
There we go. Didn't he have one ruled out for VAR as well, Alonso? Could have had more points. I don't know. Maybe I've misheard that. I don't know. Sean Thorpe is in from the Slack. Hey, Sean. How are you doing? Sean. And who else we got? Francisco Lamar. Very nice to see you. All sorts of you guys in. So, guys, thank you very much for taking the time to come and listen to us waffle on about nonsense and FPL this evening.
And Wanyama.
There's our Twitter on the left-hand side, at FPL Family, over on the old Twitter. Just went over 26,000 this weekend. Nice. So, guys, thank you very much for the follows over there. Absolutely loving your work. Let's get on with the games, Sam. Games, community questions, teams, bit of waffle and nonsense.
Manager of the Month update.
Manager of the Month update. You are absolutely right. We will, of course, be crowning our February Manager of the Month because we are done. Donezo. There's no game tomorrow. Nothing is FA Cup games during the week, but we are done for February. So we'll be looking at who has won February's Manager of the Month. And if you want to take part in March's Manager of the Month, you can, of course, do that. Patreon.com/FPL Family for all the details. And the links are in the description below.
And you get to be a slacking slacker.
And you get to be a slacker. You get to be slacked. Let's get on with the games. We have to start, and it's not because I want to get it out of the way, but genuinely it is the talking point that a lot of us are talking about right now. Watford 3, Liverpool 0 at Vicarage Road. Felt weird. Putting it out there. I feel weird about it. To be honest, I was quite glad we were out and about and seeing the script last night at a gig because genuinely I just didn't really think about it too much.
No.
And I woke up this morning and I was like, did we lose yesterday?
What was interesting for me was that we were listening to the radio on the drive home from the train station last night, and they were talking about how actually the winter break has done Liverpool no favours.
Correct,
and
I agree.
And it's not something that I'd really kind of considered before, but actually I think it applies to a few clubs. And I'll bracket Spurs, not obviously in the same way, but I'll bracket Spurs in with that, because we were starting to be on a bit of a better run.
Yeah.
The winter break's come along, and suddenly it's like we've lost in the Champions League, you've lost in the Champions League, we've lost twice in the league, you've lost in the league. And it's not just us two clubs. But I do feel like the winter break has cost a lot of clubs their rhythm. Now, it's had the reverse effect on other clubs, because like with Watford, they seem to have been a bit bolstered by the break. I think maybe they all, because they were in the pit of it all, they were a bit like, right, we need it. Mm. And that for them it seems to have bounced. But for the clubs that were starting to find form, or like Liverpool have just been on a great run, it does feel like it's been disruptive having that break.
Yeah, I think you're probably right.
And for me, as an FPL manager, it's ruined me.
Yeah. Well, I think Klopp has talked, he did talk before the winter break, a lot about rhythm. A lot of the press conferences he was doing was talking about rhythm. And we don't really have any other reference point other than one key one actually from last season, when actually obviously Spurs Liverpool in the Champions League final last year. All right, obviously happy that we won it, but goodness me, what a terrible game it was.
It was awful.
It was awful, and a lot of that, in my opinion, was down to the fact that actually there was a almost 3 week break between the end of the season and that final. Now, how do you keep your rhythm? How do you stay in step during that game? It's impossible to do that, and I wonder whether the mid-season player break, as we're supposed to call it, I wonder if that's had an effect in the same way.
Well, it feels like it has to me, and it'll be interesting to see at the end of this season when the managers sit down to discuss what happens next season and as to whether there's going to be another mid-season break.
I think now they've got it, they'll keep it, right?
Well, I don't know, because it was only agreed for this season, wasn't it? It was agreed as a kind of a for the 1920 season, there will be a mid-season break. Now, it will be interesting to see how the managers, the Premier League managers, when they vote on it, how they feel about that break. And because I think we've also seen a number of injuries that have come off the back of that break as well.
Okay.
So
Liverpool assets in your team now, then. Hiccups this week, is it? Goodness me, all right. Better than last week.
I'm fine this week.
I just got the hiccups. Had a good night's sleep last week. Last night, so it's fine.
The last 2 nights, I've had the best night's sleep. Honestly, I've had a really nice weekend.
In preparation just for this stream. So
yeah, because I literally got so much grief last week for not being ready to stream. I cannot wait for you to come back from the stag do. I am making you stream regardless of what happens.
100%. Liverpool assets in your FPL team then.
Yes.
Firmino, Salah and Trent Alexander-Arnold.
Useless, the lot of them.
Well, all right, okay. For 1 week, yes, okay. Not so good for 1 week. But come on, give me your thoughts. It's Bournemouth next, right? I mean, you've got to expect some sort of reaction. We've got to expect these guys to come back out full of va-va-voom, right?
I think so, yeah. I mean, what's really interesting for me is that, and I know that you shouldn't pay too much attention to this home and away thing, but I didn't want a captain Salah this week. I really didn't.
Okay.
And I spoke to some of the guys in the Slack about it. I was scared of it.
Who are you going to go with then?
Well, I would only have gone with Firmino in reality. So, but I'm starting to... I forgot that the cup's broken. It's made me laugh.
Broken. Yeah. You broke my bottle. I just have that out there on record. You broke it.
I was trying to take the lid off of it and it snapped off.
So I'm going to have to balance it over here now. Here we go.
So in reality, it wouldn't have made any difference. Is the point?
No.
But I think for me, I'm starting to feel like Salah's ownership levels, since that Mane injury, Salah's ownership levels are so high that it's a real risk to not captain him because everybody seems to be doing it because of Liverpool's form the way that it is and all of that kind of stuff.
So what do you put that down to then? So Liverpool's form, you said form there a second ago. So yes, Liverpool lost against Atletico in the Champions League. They beat West Ham 3-2, but it was largely unconvincing in parts, particularly as it was at home and a lot of us were expecting a reasonable score to 0. And then, of course, you get the game against Watford where they get battered 3-0. What's changed? Why are Salah? Why are these guys? And it can't just be the winter break. What else is it?
I think it's partly that. And I also think that there was... honestly, I think there's been a little bit of complacency from Liverpool lately.
Okay.
And I don't mean that in a negative way. I just think that they've played so brilliantly for so long. I think they've had this little period of fixtures that have come up with the likes of West Ham followed by Watford, 2 clubs in the relegation zone. I think the reality is that a lot of those players kind of, okay, we can win that game, and potentially they need what they maybe needed on the back of the winter break was a bit more of a... I know that the Champions League game was really tough and I think that challenged them, but I think that had a negative impact. So they obviously had that negative result there. Then they go into the West Ham game and it's like they're already on a bit of a downer from the Champions League. It's Watford, relegation candidates. Maybe there was a little bit of that at play. I don't know, is the reality.
I think you're underestimating the impact of Jordan Henderson not being in the team.
Well, that's massive.
Right? I mean, look at...
And Milner.
And Milner, yeah, and actually having some leadership in that team. Yeah. Some guile, and I hate to come across as a typical Brit, but some bulldog spirit in there in the middle, right? Yeah. Milner and Henderson really give us that. And without it, I think we missed that energy in the middle. Gini Wijnaldum did put in a little bit of a shift against West Ham, and of course he got the goal there as well, and he played okay, but he was a bit missing. But
Keita wasn't so great against West Ham, and then Ox was better when he came on, and then obviously Ox got to start this game. I just feel like, I mean, and in part it will be obviously the Henderson and the Milner thing because they are 2 huge players in terms of the character that they bring to the side. But for me, I wonder actually whether Liverpool needed that. They needed to lose a game.
Well, Klopp did come out and talk about the fact that we can get back to free-flowing football, or words to that effect now. We can get back to playing free football and we can not worry about... I don't necessarily think it's pressure. I just think there was this kind of monkey on their back about, we want to be invincible, we want to win every game or whatever. And I think now they've lost the game. I think just go on and hope, win the title over the next few weeks. A word on Lovren then, because I'll give my view on Lovren in a second. What's your view on how he went about his business in that game?
I actually think it's less about Lovren and more about how the team play when Lovren plays. So
it's a bit of both, but yeah.
So I think Lovren himself, we know what Lovren's about. We know that Lovren can get absolutely done. We saw that against Spurs a couple of seasons ago. We know that he's got that in his game. But what was interesting for me is the impact that it has on the likes of Trent and Robertson and the rest of, and Van Dijk as well, the rest of that defence, because it suddenly feels like they go, oh God, we're carrying Lovren. So they're kind of they're a bit more worried about what everyone else is doing as opposed to concentrating on the game that they would normally play, because we weren't seeing the same kind of game that Van Dijk would usually play from where he is. The same with Robertson and Trent. And I think he just leaves the Liverpool defence more vulnerable. Now, I mean, why has he played him? Matip was there, right?
Well, yeah, he is. I mean, Joe Gomez obviously first choice. He's got to use the squad. Maybe Matip wasn't quite ready. I don't know. He's been injured a little bit recently as well. Maybe there was some complacency, as you said, and he wanted to put Lovren in there and just think, well, maybe we thought we could just turn up to Watford and win a game. What I will say is that I thought Lovren was really bullied in that game. Really bullied by Deeney.
Deeney did a good job.
And Deeney came out after the game and said something like, he wanted to target the weaker of the two at the back.
Of course.
And all the Liverpool Twitter was just like, how dare he? That's so unprofessional. That's so, discourteous. How can you...
Isn't that what they would do?
I'm sitting there as a Liverpool fan going...
I'd do that.
I'd do that.
Yeah,
Why would you not do that?
Of course.
That's the perfect strategy for playing against Liverpool. And every time that Deeney and Lovren got into a battle, you could see that it was affecting Lovren.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying, because I know you guys in the live chat, and I've been tweeted this a lot over the weekend, stop digging out Lovren. It was the team played badly, Yeah, the team played badly, no doubt about it. And I'll have a word on Fabinho in a minute as well. But Lovren was really bad. He got bullied in that game. The last time I saw Lovren get bullied like that was at Wembley. This is how long ago it was. At Wembley. And he got bullied by Kane. And Spurs were about 2 or 3-0 up after about half an hour. And he hauled Lovren off, if you remember rightly. Because he was just like, you've been retired, pal. You need to come off. And he against Deeney was bossed.
Yeah,
you look at that first goal. He lets it bounce over his head. And I think it's maybe Decore or somebody kind of nips in and crosses it to Sarr. But the whole point is that Deeney is grappling Lovren so that Lovren can't get up for that header. And psychologically, I think Deeney beat Lovren in that game. And because of that, Lovren was always tight to him, always close to him, made it a battle between them two, rather than, as you quite rightly say, stick into his position, stick to your shape, stick to what Klopp has told you to do, which is hold your shape and hold the way that you play with Virgil van Dijk. The amount of gaps we had at the back,
I feel like
absolutely unreal.
And I don't feel like... Okay, I don't feel like Lovren is a bad player, but I feel like Lovren's a panicker. So I feel like the Liverpool defence are a really calm unit normally, regardless of whether it's Gomez or Matip, with Trent and with Robertson and with Van Dijk, they are calm. Yeah. And they play calmly and they stick to their jobs, and if someone gets away, they just find a way to get it back, and it sorts itself out. When Lovren was there, I feel like he panics, and as a result of him panicking, the other three go, God, get in his position and cover for him. And then it goes to pot.
Yeah. The other player to point out, and we'll get back to FPL in a second, but I need this to vent. I've got to vent. Fabinho had a bad game, no doubt about it. And actually, since he's come back from injury, he ain't been that good, Fabinho. He ain't been that good. And actually, in his absence, Jordan Henderson played in that position as central defensive midfielder. And technically, Fabinho is probably a better CDM than Henderson is. But oh my God, Henderson puts in so much work and he's so tenacious. You literally, if you get into those positions, he will win it off you. It was, I'm going to say it's Kante-like, but it was like Kante-like when he was playing in that position. He was unbelievable. And Liverpool had clean sheet after clean sheet after clean sheet. Suddenly Fabinho comes back. Henderson goes a little bit further forward in that engine room, so we get that work rate higher up the pitch. That means that we get that gaps in between the midfield and defence gets worked harder. Opposition comes in more central, that leaves more space for Trent and Robbo on the wings, and we saw that against West Ham and in other games how they've been getting more forward and getting more into the FPL points. Just didn't happen. And with Fabinho in there, I feel like he's a bit of a problem at the minute.
But do you think that would have been a problem had Henderson been there as well? So if Fabinho was there but Henderson was in front of him, would it have been an issue?
What, at the weekend?
Yeah.
I feel like we'd have won that game if Henderson were there at the weekend. I feel like we'd have conceded because Lovren would have made a mistake at some stage. But I think we would have got more out of that game because we miss his leadership, no doubt about it.
Yeah, but I feel like Fabinho... if he would have got away with it.
Okay. Enough on Liverpool. Next thing to say, Watford then. So Watford, fantastic performance. For everything I've said about Liverpool, and it's off my chest now, I'll stop. Watford played very, very well indeed. Yes. There's no doubt about it. They played very well. Ismaila Sarr in particular, 2 goals, 1 assist. Absolutely run the show, Ismaila Sarr.
And it's interesting.
Now, he's a little bit more expensive than even I thought when I looked him up after the game. He's at 6'2", 6'3" in FPL. Yeah. What's your view? I mean, a lot of us are thinking about how we get rid of Traore potentially with his shoulder popping out again. Maybe some managers thinking to get off of Grealish, given the fact that Villa's fixtures look difficult and their team overall look bad. if you've got a Leicester player like a Barnes or a Perez that you're thinking, might have made a mistake with those guys and might want to move off. Ismaila Sarr.
Yes, I feel
massive differential.
Yeah, but I feel like he wouldn't be. Like, that injury came at exactly the wrong moment for us as FPL managers.
It did, didn't it?
Because
he was doing well up to then.
He was doing really well, and we were all starting to talk about him. We'd all recognised that Sarr was a good asset. Watford were playing so much better. Then that injury hit, and it was like, oh. And I remember saying in the stream before he got injured, like, next week, if he does well again this week, he'd be my transfer in. Then he gets injured, and it's like, oh, right, okay, I've got to think of something else. And then you go another way with your FPL teams. And then what happens is, because, and no disrespect to Watford, and I really don't mean it to be disrespectful if it comes across that way, but I feel like because he plays at Watford, when he's come back from injury, we've all kind of gone, oh yeah, he was decent, but Fernandes but like all of these other, Richarlison, because Everton have been on such good form. And we've kind of like let him pass. Like,
well, the other thing is that was it a bit of temporary form? He gets injured. We've got no track record with him in the Premier League, have we?
But what we then
clearly he's a good player.
Yeah, and then what we then see is that actually the last couple of game weeks, come back from injury on great form again. So, I mean, I am a big fan. I think he's really talented.
Okay, Joe Finley Batters in. He's saying,
the Watford expert.
He's saying bye. So there we go, straight from the horse's mouth, Joe, who watches Watford week in, week out. Was there yesterday. I'm sure he enjoyed himself. He's saying you've got to buy this guy, Ismaila Sarr. FPL, You'll Never Walk Alone, YNWA, welcome to the live stream. He's saying Maddison out, Sarr in. Yeah. Yes, that looks like a good move. Lewis Greenway, hello Lewis, he's saying Doucouré will be a good pick now that Sarr is back.
Yeah,
and Azzy is saying Sarr's pace gives him a head start on most of the defenders he comes up against. And he has to play the snails next. Cahill and Dan he's up against next. So there we go.
Right, and this is the thing, right? So he's got decent.
How are the fixtures? Let's have a look at these Watford fixtures going forward. Palace away, Leicester at home, Burnley away, Southampton at home, Chelsea away. Now, on the Fantasy Football Scout ticker, that is mixed at best. But there are some defensives he can get out there. There's no doubt about it.
I mean, I think you can get most of those, and I'd bracket Chelsea in with that as well. There's a lot of defences in there that will probably be hard on the fixture ticker, but you kind of
Burnley away is actually quite tricky. Leicester home with Deeney back could be an altogether different proposition.
Let's see if Vardy's back.
Well, maybe, but listen, I think Sarr, as you guys are saying in the live chat,
he feels like a really nice asset to me at a time where, and do you know what I really like about him? And I said this to you on Friday evening. Like, the clubs I'm scouting at the moment are the bottom six. Those clubs that are in the bottom six, the ones that could still drop,
scrapping for their lives.
The ones that could still drop down, and I think
actually with Norwich winning,
yes,
it's suddenly game on.
And I said on Friday night before that Norwich game kicked off, the bottom six, they're the ones to look at because they're the ones. There'll be no rotation. There'll be no kind of like, nothing matters.
Yeah.
Those are the clubs that are fighting for their lives, and those are the clubs I want to invest in because they're the ones that are going to be out there pushing, particularly from an attacking point of view.
Okay, Botsman525 saying Deeney actually, Sam, is the most differential striker he reckons to invest in.
I can't
buy him. On Deeney?
No, I can't have him because the last
penalties as well for
the
Deeney?
last time I owned Deeney, what happened?
I got no idea. You're going to tell me though.
It was a double game week, and he got sent off.
That's true. I remember.
So I can't own Deeney because he frustrates the hell out of me. I agree with everything you've just said. He is a brilliant asset. I actually think he's a great player, and I think he'll do really well over the next few weeks. But for me, at Watford, I'm going to go Sarr.
All right, well, there we go. So, needless to say, after that victory, all eyes on Vicarage Road, and all eyes in particular on Ismaila Sarr, Senegalese wonder kid, right? I noticed that he and Mane are pretty good friends, I think, outside of, just what am I trying to say? In real life, at international level, let's say. They're good friends, and I think Mane's a bit of a mentor for him. So,
if you're going to Liverpool, then is he?
If you're going to benchmark yourself against anybody, then Sadio Mane is not a bad benchmark to put yourself against. So Ismaila Sarr, remember the name, absolute differential in FPL right now, and he's going to be highly transferred in this game week, I suspect.
Yeah.
Let's have a look at Norwich 1, Leicester 0. Cast your mind back all the way to the nonsense that was the hour before kickoff, the hour before deadline when the teams were announced. Norwich 1, Leicester 0. After all of the, Vardy, is he going to play? Is he not going to play? I'm going to bring in Perez. I'm going to bring in Iheanacho. I'm going to bring in this, that, and the other player. It's actually a Lewis wonder goal that wins that game out of nowhere. There's me sitting with Soyuncu thinking, well, it's one of those. It's a blank game week. I need everything I can get, frankly, from my players. And at half time, I'm thinking actually that the Leicester clean sheet not looking too bad because it was a bad game, wasn't it? It was a bad game, no doubt about it. No incident, not a good game. And then Jamal Lewis just pops up with an absolute worldie out of nowhere. So how are you now feeling about the Leicester City assets, given that their fixtures read like this? Pretty good, by the way. Aston Villa at home, Watford away, which now actually looks like a very difficult game. Brighton at home, which I think is a nice game. Everton away, which is tricky. Crystal Palace at home. So on the Fantasy Football Scout ticker, they are a sea of blue right now, but I would suggest that both the Watford away and the Everton away are tricky little games. And of course, in game week 31, Leicester at home to Brighton and Hove Albion, we don't know yet whether that's going to go ahead or not. So given you're holding... you've not got Vardy, right? And you've not got any. So no Leicester.
No.
Pretty happy to be there, or with Villa at home next? How are you feeling?
No, happy to be there.
Okay.
On Friday night, I can honestly say I was the most annoyed I've been in a very, very long time.
Right.
From an FPL point of view, because I held Vardy through so much nonsense.
Oh, man,
for so many weeks of utter nonsense.
So you did have him for this game week?
Yes.
Right.
So I was planning to roll transfer. They would have 2 transfers going in 29, so that if there's a double game week, which there still may be, but I think it's unlikely, in 29, that I would have 2 free transfers. I can do my Aubameyang transfer, and I'd still have one more left for whoever else I wanted. And then this Vardy news comes literally out of nothing.
So you were one of the FPL managers that swapped Vardy out on the back of that news?
Yeah.
Okay, and who did you bring in for him?
Jimenez,
yeah, like most of the community, I think.
The most un-Spursy thing to do, to go into that Spurs game with 3 Wolves players.
Yeah, right.
However, I just was like, I'm done. I'm done with Vardy. I'm done with Leicester. They can jog on for all I care. I don't know. The reality is that listening to Brendan Rodgers, it did sound like he should be back for next week, but the form isn't there. He's now got another injury. It feels like he's just a problem constantly, so I don't want to own Vardy. The midfielders don't look great. The defence don't look great. I'm happy to not own any of them.
Well, I think you're right about the midfielders. David Hackanson, thank you, David. Maddie was so poor. I think a lot of it comes down to there's 1 or 2 key players there that have either been missing through injury, like Deeney, or just criminally out of form, like Maddison. And we know how creatively important Maddison is for that Leicester side, and if he's off form, the rest of them are off form. And Harvey Barnes has shown a little bit of, he's shown a bit of fight and a bit of spirit in the last few weeks, mainly probably because he's not been a regular in that team, and he's like, I want to be a regular in that team. But around him, I think it's looked pretty inept. So Leicester going forward, despite the fixtures, look like good transfer out candidates, to be honest.
The thing that goes in their favour is Ndidi is back. And Ndidi is so important to the way that they play, particularly for Vardy, because he does link the defence and the midfield quickly, and they haven't had that. And that's the thing that's been really lacking, is that quickness across the field. That slowing down of the Leicester midfield has meant that Vardy, whilst he's still in the right positions, he's never getting the ball at the speed he needs to get it for the Vardy things that he was doing in the beginning part of the season to work.
In actual fact, Jake Francis agrees with you. Ndidi being back could change things. Bossman525 saying Ndidi back, surely madness to completely ignore Leicester.
It is, I think, but for me, what I don't know, we saw Ndidi get some minutes on Friday night. Is Ndidi fit enough to come back in and play for 90 minutes in that game against Aston Villa? I don't know is the honest answer. I don't know. If he's not fully fit, and therefore, like in terms of match fitness, and therefore not able to play for 90 minutes, now we're going to find out, aren't we? Because we've got FA Cup fixtures to come this week.
Yeah, we're going to get a big indicator on it.
So we're going to get a big indicator of what's happening there with Vardy as well, as to whether he makes the game.
Are we going to fall into the same trap though? So let's say they go out, or for whatever happens, so the combination works out that actually they do play against Brighton at home in game week 31. Surely we're all going to stay on Vardy, aren't we? Those of us that are still on Vardy, we're going to go, right, Villa at home then. They're definitely going to play in 31. Can't sell him now.
Well, I've been
saying that for 10 weeks.
But I'm still planning to use my free hit chip in 31.
Oh, are you? Okay.
So depending upon what happens with the fixtures, that's fully my intention, is to play my free hit chip in 31, because I'm fully expecting this to be a tiny little game week in 31, because
could be.
Because it looks as though the clubs that are going to play have got well, there's some not quite nice fixtures for clubs which you should like Leicester, who should expect to progress to the next round of the Cup. I don't know is the answer with Leicester, but I don't feel like the form is good. And on the back of Friday's performance, I don't feel like I'm that upset to not own any of them.
Okay, all right. Listen, so Chris is in. He's saying if Leicester don't improve, they could miss out on the top 4.
That could happen.
Could happen because it's getting tighter and tighter there, isn't it? And
apart from the Spurs,
they need some points. Norwich, for their part, obviously rock bottom in the league, but like we said before, the relegation battle back on now, no doubt about it. Was there anything in that game that made you think, it wasn't to me screaming out, I've got to go out and get Norwich players, but no. I have Todd Cantwell in my team right now.
He's the one.
Kind of just going to stick with him, given his price, and just let him come on when I need him, really. Actually, 3 points for me in FPL this week. I'll take it. I needed it.
I felt that, so Todd Cantwell was one of the ones that was like, so I was thinking about double Arsenal from next week.
Okay.
And Saka was the one of choice, and I was feeling like Cantwell would be the make way. But actually, watching Norwich on Friday night, Cantwell had a number of decent opportunities. He was getting into all the right places again. Now, I don't think he's ever going to be one of those players that scores week in, week out, but I think as a bench fodder...
Used to be.
Well, yeah, maybe. But I feel as bench fodder, to come in when you need him, he's a good asset still.
Okay, all right. That's enough about Norwich versus Leicester. Let's go to Everton 1, Manchester United 1. We'll come to Spurs.
Still all right.
We'll come to Spurs a bit later on. I'm not sure how much I can mention about the Spurs game, really, because we didn't watch it. It wasn't on TV. This game was on TV, Everton versus Manchester United. It was a tale of 2 goalkeepers, really, wasn't it? Because David De Gea, a real cock-up in the first few minutes when he's got all day to clear it, and DCL just comes in, shuts him down and scores the goal. And then towards the end pulls off an absolute worldy save and keeps them in it. We'll talk about the VAR incident maybe in a second. And then also at the other end, Pickford had a bit of a mare for the goal. It's a nice strike by Bruno, but probably Pickford should save it. And then towards the end of the game, he pulls off a pretty damn good double save to keep them out and to get the point. So, tale of 2 goalkeepers, but also a tale of 2 big FPL assets. Dominic Calvert-Lewin looking and continuing to be fantastic value up there in our front 3. And of course, Bruno Fernandes, which we'll talk about in a second. But Everton, for their part, how are you feeling about Everton assets right now? Have you got any in your team for a start?
No, I don't. I nearly had Calvert-Lewin this week because I ummed and ahed for a while, as Josh will testify to, and was like Jimenez, Calvert-Lewin, Jimenez, Calvert-Lewin. And I couldn't decide for ages and ages and ages, and the fixtures won out eventually with Jimenez. But what I really liked about Dominic Calvert-Lewin in this game wasn't so much the goal that he scored, and then obviously the goal that maybe he should have scored, or could have scored had VAR not got involved, was the fact that he's chasing that ball down. Like, the keeper's got the ball. I love that. I love that from a forward, that they're like, no, if you're going to mess around with it, I'm going to be in your face just in case you mess up. Like,
it was a lovely quote by Ole Gunnar Solskjaer after the game, I think, where he was asked to comment on Calvert-Lewin's performance. And he said, he ran his heart out. He said something like he would chase a piece of paper on a windy day.
Love it.
Or something, didn't he?
But that's what you want. That is exactly what you want.
Defending from the front at its best.
Absolutely. And if you are an Everton fan, that is exactly what you want. I would like him to come and play at Spurs because that's what I want from my forwards, to be doing that. But from an FPL point of view, that is perfect because you know that if he's doing that, if he's that committed to chasing down a ball that De Gea's just got, there's going to be FPL returns come what may.
Okay, Notorious Nerd, how are you doing, Notorious? He is saying Calvert-Lewin always threatens to deliver a big haul. Hope it's coming soon. Yeah, now listen, a couple of weeks ago, I was considering, I think a few FPL managers did actually get rid of Dominic Calvert-Lewin ahead of Arsenal and Man U and some difficult fixtures. And the fixtures remain difficult, by the way. But nevertheless, I think a few other managers like myself said, well, actually, I think he can get at that Arsenal defence and he can get at that Man United defence. And actually, the 2 goals that he scored in both those 2 games were very early on in both games and were fairly opportunistic, both of them, in terms of where he was and shutting down De Gea, etc. Could have had a big haul today.
Yeah.
Could have been the difference between a green and a red arrow. Certainly was for me in terms of my game week. Had that goal stood, and that's why I was quite emotional about it on Twitter. Those of you that follow me there, you'll know about it. I was emotional about it because actually that goal going in would have meant a green arrow for me this week rather than a red. And we'll talk about my team in a bit more detail later. But Dominic Calvert-Lewin getting 2 goals today would have been, and maybe could have been, really great for his FPL owners. Are you considering getting him in? Have you got a route to Dominic Calvert-Lewin? What's your front 3 right now?
Jimenez, Ings and Firmino. But Aubameyang is priority number 1 for next week.
Yes, the Arsenal fixtures do look good, yes.
So he's priority number 1. So Dominic Calvert-Lewin is on the priority list for sure, but I've only got one free transfer because of Jamie Vardy. So I've now got to ponder on what I do. There's so many. Like I said to you, we both said it, haven't we, this weekend. My team at the moment feels like it could be heading towards a wildcard.
Right.
Now, my original intention was to wildcard in 30, and I still feel like the wildcard in 30 is on. It could have happened this week, but with the FA Cup fixtures not finishing until Thursday night, I don't want to be on a wildcard and then having to make all the decisions on Friday. I just feel like there's not enough time for team value and all of that kind of jazz that you want to benefit from wildcard. So, but it still feels like it's very much on for 30.
So you're saying you would rather have Aubameyang than Calvert-Lewin right now? Forget the price.
For game week 30, for game week 29, yes, bearing in mind that I'm planning a wildcard for 30 and therefore it's only one more week without Calvert-Lewin.
Right,
because Ings could easily become Calvert-Lewin.
Okay, I suppose he could. Yes, he could. And of course, Ings missing out this week for another injury that kind of come a bit out of the blue in the same way that Vardy's did a little bit. Again, no hint of that in any press conferences or anything.
Hugo Lloris add him to that pile this week?
There was a few. No doubt about it. Yeah, there was a few.
All of these players, what's happened?
But nevertheless,
voice has gone funny.
I think Ings is still a hold for me. I think the fixtures coming up still look all right. So I don't think he's a panic.
Bad, though.
Yeah, I don't think he's a panic sell yet, maybe. But listen, if you're thinking about getting rid of him for Dominic Calvert-Lewin, I ain't going to talk you out of that. Because Dominic Calvert-Lewin, I've owed him for about 3 or 4 weeks now, and he's been absolutely some header against Arsenal in the last minute, didn't he? Which he really should have buried. Could be talking about back-to-back 13, 14 pointers for Dominic Calvert-Lewin very, very easily, and in which case we'd all be saying, well, sell whoever, sell Ings, sell Vardy, sell whoever.
Sell everybody.
Just get him in, right?
Yeah.
As it is, I think we're largely considering it. Manchester United, for their part, I thought this was a good game, first thing to say. I thought it was a good game.
Really good.
I actually learned a lot about both sides coming out of this game. And actually, Manchester United, were it not for a bit of De Gea nonsense in the first few minutes, I want to say they dominated the game, but they played really, really well. Again, the confidence is there for all to see since Bruno Fernandes has been there.
Massive.
And you've just been talking about the fact you're thinking about, Firmino out to Aubameyang, and you're looking at your front line. Got to have a bit of a plan for Bruno, haven't you? What's your thoughts about Bruno Fernandes?
But you can't do them all in the same week, and this is the thing. I think for me, one of the major things that I've learned from game week 28, when you look at the scores, the average score, and the fact that my score isn't that much higher than average, but I've still got a green area this week, is because I did not take a hit. The hits are killing ranks at the moment. The more hits you take, the more your rank will, honestly...
Especially the Friday night 6:30 ones.
It's the way that... but it's the way the season is going at the moment. It's still so close. Like, the boundaries between overall rank are so small at the moment that you take a 4-point hit and it's setting you back however many places. It's massive.
And I still feel like it's so random this season.
Yes, it is.
It's so random. You could take a hit for a player and he could just do nothing. Or could get hat-trick. You just don't know, do you?
Somebody that I was chatting to on Instagram was saying that they took a hit for... it was Jemima in the Slack. Okay. She took a hit for Vardy and Gomez this week. And it's like,
nice.
that kills you, doesn't it? Because that's a -4, I think it was for her. Now, if you're doing that, that's a real problem. So for me, I'm looking at my team thinking, I would really like Sarr, I'd really like Fernandes, and I'd really like Dominic Calvert-Lewin.
It's wildcard time.
That's a -8. I'm not taking a -8 because the key one for me in game week 29 is Aubameyang, and I need to get through this FA Cup because then we know what our fixtures are looking like for 31 when I'm planning a free hit. Because actually, I might come to the wildcard and think, well, the players that I'm going to wildcard in are playing in 31, and therefore I don't need my free hit, so I can use it better in a double game week. Okay. So it's so important at the moment.
I will stop you on the wildcard thing there, simply because I know one of the community questions later is about when. If you've got it, when you're playing it. So I want to get your thoughts then. But I ain't finished yet on Bruno Fernandes, because I'm telling you, this guy is a be-aller. He is so good. Not just looking at him and the way he plays football. He reminds me, and as somebody had tweeted me, reminds me of a kind of sort of David De Silva, kind of Christian Eriksen sort of player. I mean, he does remind me of that. But from an FPL perspective, he has got absolutely everything you want in an FPL player. Assists, set pieces, penalties, selfish with his shots, takes the game by the scruff of the neck. I also noticed, I need to get this right, because I looked into the Fantasy Football Scout members area, top for tackles this week, Bruno Fernandes, joint with, would you believe, this is random, Emi Buendia.
What?
Emi Buendia and Bruno Fernandes both with 8 tackles.
The first match of the game week and the last match of the game week.
So there we go. That tells you everything about Bruno Fernandes. I ain't going to sit here and say he's the complete player, but he looks very, very good for FPL.
But are you going to bring him in ahead of the Manchester derby?
Why not? No Laporte. Stones is clearly rubbish. We saw that today in the Carabao Cup final. Listen, United are on a nice run of form. Not many teams are going to go to Goodison and get a point, although they might have snuck away with a point, frankly, come the end.
But would you prioritise bringing him in ahead of, say, Aubameyang and his fixture for 29?
Difficult for me to answer that question because I already have Bruno. But if I didn't have either, I still think I would potentially look at Aubameyang first, because it's West Ham.
Yeah.
But Bruno's price is going to fly up this week. There's no doubt about it. We know what FPL's like. As soon as a Manchester United player starts playing well, it just rockets. He's only been in the game 3 weeks, and his TSBs he's selected by something like 12 or 13%.
But please,
he's going to be 15, 16, 17%.
I appreciate that I'm now going to preach at the converted because you guys don't need me to tell you this, but we've got some more fixtures. I know that it's not a game week.
Oh, I know. Yeah,
but
I know.
Why do people do... we don't know... He might get injured in the middle of the week.
Absolutely. We know we've got 3 days worth of FA Cup fixtures. And actually, that Manchester United fixture is the Thursday, I believe.
Yes, it's the last game.
The third of the 3 days we've got. So you really need to make sure that all your assets, including Bruno Fernandes, get through that game.
Yeah.
So hold your transfers, I think, is the overwhelming and overriding message from tonight's FPL Family live stream is you've got to hold it this week. There's no doubt about it.
Can't panic.
If you are considering getting Bruno Fernandes, I'm not going to stop you doing that. He looked absolutely magic. Elsewhere in that game, a shout out to Maguire. I thought Maguire had a fantastic game today. Absolutely got his head on everything. And actually, he was top for CBI, I've just noticed, on, again, the members area in Fantasy Football Scout, with a score of 17 clearances, blocks and interceptions. He was top for CBI. And of course, you'd expect that would translate into FPL bonus points. But of course conceded the goal, and Fernandes did well, and Matic got the assist, etc. But Maguire, very, very good game. He's improving a lot.
It was just a really good game of football to watch, and what is highlighted is the FPL assets from both Everton and Manchester United that were a fit.
Next to Bruno Fernandes, I'm not sure we're ever going to see peak Pogba again, but goodness me, absolutely sensational.
What is wrong with Pogba now? Is he ill again?
I don't know. I just genuinely don't think he ever wants to just play again, to be honest with you. Tactical Foul is saying people will want to dodge the price rise. You're absolutely right. They will. There's no doubt about it. My advice, our advice, I think, just suck it up. If he goes up in price, suck it up. You've got loads of games to get through. And at this point in the season, points are worth more than team value, in my opinion.
100%.
It's worth more than it. The Bossman is saying Bruno won't play in the FA Cup. Well, let's see.
That might be true, but it's worth waiting, in my opinion, because even if Bruno doesn't play, you might get an injury elsewhere that's a problem you've got to deal with, and then you've got a hit, and that is a massive problem.
Absolutely, all right. And Notorious Nerd is saying the Manchester derby is always unpredictable. You never know which way it's going to go.
That's true.
And Azzy has just gone Ancelotti red.
Yeah, he got sent off, yeah.
Let's not even go there with that last-minute VAR decision. It's unreal that it was ruled off, in my opinion. But we've had that conversation on Twitter, those of you that follow me over there, so we're not going to have that conversation again. Spurs 2, Wolves 3. Let's talk about the game.
Got the score right, didn't I? Said it would be 3-2.
You did, and it did look like one of those games where anything could happen. It was to and fro. Again, we didn't watch the game because here in the UK it was Everton versus Man U was on the TV. Steven Bergwijn getting on the score sheet again. Another, by all accounts, we've not seen it, but by all accounts, a good performance there. Again, let's not talk too much about Spurs because we're rapidly getting to the top of the hour, and I do want to talk about Wolves in a bit of detail. Your view on Spurs, you're happy to obviously be holding Ali with the 2 assists. Any thoughts to bring anybody else in to supplement Ali, or is Ali a make weight for Bruno Fernandes potentially down the line? How are you feeling about him?
No, I'm going to keep Ali. I think for me, Mourinho sort of half did what I wanted him to do today. So he played the front way that I wanted him to, put Dele where he should have been, and it was better. Going forward, it was a lot better. And Dele again, judging by what I could hear from the Spurs chatters and stuff, was that Dele actually was unlucky not to get a few more points than he did. Should have scored a goal right before Jimenez got the third for Wolves. But what was he doing with the defence this week? It's like, Mourinho, give us a break. Like, you can't not play Toby Or, like...
No Hugo Lloris either?
No Lloris. So we've got Gazzaniga in goal. I just don't know what goes through his mind. I honestly don't. So he gets the front right, and then... But I did say to you, we either attack or we defend, and that's the end of it. And I knew that at home we would attack, and therefore the defence would be a problem. And that's why, because I was getting a lot of grief on Friday night on Instagram for having 3 Wolves players against Spurs. I was getting questioned about I can't be a real Spurs fan, and I was like, can we just put this aside, because FPL and football are totally different, and you can't play FPL with your football loyalties intact, particularly when you support Spurs.
You definitely can't ever have your Spurs goggles on, except when you're on FPL FYI, as the Storm Legacy has pointed out. Shout out to Sammy, says weekly wildcard had Bergwijn in it.
I mean, thank you. Thank you for somebody for noticing that I did do that. Look, all I'm saying is that I think it also had Doherty and Jimenez in it too.
I also had those guys.
I mean, that's just to point that out. But I think for me, Spurs are just a real frustration at the moment, and I don't see things getting any better anytime soon. But equally, I think Dele for me I'm happy to hold him. I think Bergwijn I would be happy to hold him as well. But the rest of them,
all right. Well, the Spurs fixtures: Burnley away, tricky. Manchester United at home, West Ham at home, Sheffield United away, Everton at home. So again,
defend, attack, defend.
Well, it's tricky, isn't it? It's tricky. There's nothing.
Got to win some games.
There's nothing about those fixtures that's making me think I definitely want Spurs players. Yes, of course, Ali's got the 2, and Ali he'll tick over points. He's that sort of player. He's a lot of money in FPL, so you expect him to. Bergwijn's kind of interesting, but the way that Spurs are playing right now, I think there's better options throughout FPL. Not least at Wolves themselves. Tell me, is Jimenez essential? That is the question. Tactical foul in the live chat. Jimenez is essential. What a number 9 he is. The guys are saying, Sam, in your opinion, is he essential?
One of the Wolves' front 2 is essential. I don't think it matters whether you have Jimenez or Jota. You just have one.
Jota's not even in the same bracket as Jimenez, is he?
Look at the results from the last few weeks in terms of points returns between Jota and Jimenez. The way that Wolves are playing right now, because I looked at this on Friday night when I was going, Jimenez, Dominic Calvert-Lewin. I'll stick Jota in that conversation as well. And then it was like 2 minutes to the deadline and I was like, just go back to Jimenez, it's safer. I don't think... I love Jimenez. I think he's absolute gold. Would I say that he's essential right now? He's bordering on it, yes. But
there,
I think you can also have Jota as well, and I don't necessarily think... And I think Deeney... Is Deeney in? I think Danny's got both Jota and Jimenez and Doherty. I mean, what a game week he had from them 3.
Okay, Dominic Jervis, Dom J is in. He's saying I may have both Jota and Jimenez,
there you are.
And Abhishek is saying Jimenez or Jota. So, listen, the fact that Jota is even in the same question as Jimenez proves that the guy is bang on form right now. And one thing's for sure, us Adama Traore owners possibly have a bit of a problem now. Second time in about 3 weeks that his shoulder's popped out. Third time in 3 weeks that his shoulder's popped out. And okay, the guy's a beast. They popped it back in and he got on with the game. Bless him.
Have a rest.
But goodness me, that is a problem now. Not that I'm in any way a Ben Deeney or in any way a shoulder expert, but if a shoulder pops out...
Is Ben Deeney a shoulder expert?
Well, Ben Deeney is an expert in all things Premier injuries on Twitter. You would well know that at Ben Deeney is an absolute must-follow on Twitter for the FPL community. But that shoulder popping out all the time, it needs to be popped back in and rested for a while, in my opinion. And strapped up and get settled back in that joint. Otherwise, it's just going to keep popping out. And I can't believe they're going to go 10 more game weeks with it doing this. Until the end of the season. Now, I noticed actually Espirito Santo after the game come out and said, Adama Traore is in a lot of pain. He said something like, he's a strong lad and he's sucking it up and he's getting on with the game for the sake of the team. But just like anybody would be, if your shoulder popped out of its joint, he is in a lot of pain. And I can imagine he is. So, for me, Adama Traore is looking a bit of a transfer out right now, I have to say.
Particularly when I can have Ismail Assar.
Well, okay, yeah. I wonder whether that's a bit knee-jerky. Ismail Assar's had, a good game.
I don't think that's knee-jerky at all. Pre-injury, great form. When out from injury, come back, great form.
Yeah, it could be. Could be.
Watford, relegation battle, need the points.
Yeah, sure. But, Sarr is... Okay, well, fair enough.
And from a Wolves point of view, who are you going to go for in the midfield if you're not going with Traore?
Well, I think actually it's more at the back we're looking now. I mean, for me, as much as I want to probably lose Adama Traore, and I probably need one of those front two that we were talking about before, because I don't have Jimenez or Jota right now.
Yeah, of course.
But the one I am absolutely looking at is Matt Doherty. Matt Doherty, we were talking before, you were saying about who's your priority, Aubameyang or Fernandes, and I kind of hesitated when I was answering that. One of the reasons I hesitated is because my priority right now is Matt Doherty.
Matt Doherty, interesting.
Honestly, I think the guy, we know what he's like. That's the first thing. It's not like this is a bit of form out of the blue. Doherty has got previous from last season. He's getting in all sorts of ridiculous areas. I noticed he played obviously wide and attacking in the game in the Europa League. They played, I want to say Sporting, whoever they played in the Europa League. His goal in the Europa League was a tap-in. It was a poacher's goal, let me tell you. From the other fullback, and actually I think it was Podence coming from the other side, and he tapped it in. And of course, again today, gets a golden assist.
Well, I don't know about this week, but last week he had more touches in the box than Jota, Jimenez, any of the attacking players from Wolves. He had more touches in the box than
if Traore is going to be out, as we saw that he was, he didn't play, he's been sporadically playing in and out of the team last couple of weeks, hasn't he? What have we seen? We've seen that shift to a 3-5-2.
Which benefits Doherty.
We've seen Doherty go wide on the right and get licensed to bomb forward. So if Adama Traore's shoulder is a bad one, and Doherty's showing some form, and he's got previous, and the fixtures look good, I'm kind of like, why would I not have him?
It's the price.
I've got loads of money. Don't worry about the money. I've got 4 million in the bank.
You got to get Aubameyang at some stage.
I've got to get Aubameyang.
You're going to want Aubameyang when he starts firing after these fixtures that he's got going on.
Well, maybe. Maybe.
I got Bolly on the basis that...
I wish I'd got Doherty 2 weeks ago. Oh, I wish I'd got him. Should have just splashed the cash. If you remember, I had him in Sam versus Lee, and I said that exact thing. I was split between the two. I was like, do I go Bolly and save some money, or do I splash the cash and go Doherty? And in the end, I was like, well, I'm going to go Bolly because I might want that money for somebody else in the future, like an Aubameyang or somebody like that. And as it is, I wish I'd have just spent that money on Doherty. Been amazing last couple of weeks.
I feel like Doherty's a really tough one because the price puts me off. It does.
Is the fact you've got Bolly already? Is that putting you off? Double Wolves defence.
I've got 3 Wolves players, so in order for me
someone would have to come out.
So it's got to be Bolly's got to come out, which means then I can't deal with Traore if he's an issue, which means then
give it a Traore.
But I still got to make a -4 then.
Ooh, okay.
And I don't feel like it's worth it for.
You are sounding very wildcardy, very wildcardy.
Next week. Well, told you that.
Well, listen, we're going to talk about the community questions in a second in terms of when you might play your wildcard. Any more in terms of the games? Chelsea 2, Bournemouth 2.
We didn't watch it. They're going to be really hard to talk about these because we didn't watch it. We got in too late. We didn't watch much of the day.
Didn't see it, but 2 for Alonso. Goodness me, I think you just stick him up front, don't you, and forget everybody else. Goodness me. Never mind striker crisis. Giroud and Batshuayi. Just sit down. Get Alonso on. Absolutely sensational.
Abraham.
And another clean sheet for Nick Pope. Another clean sheet.
Jamal Lascelles. Yes, that is why I brought you in. Nice one, Jamal.
So Jamal Lascelles, a clean sheet for all of his owners as well. And the only other result I want to talk about is West Ham 3, Southampton 1. I'm sure the Hammers went into that game thinking, we have to win this.
Oh yeah,
we have to win this. I was listening to Suj and James on Planet FPL Pod earlier in the week, and during their Tottenham, they do a Spurs and West Ham specific podcast.
That's been fun lately.
Given that James, given that James is Spurs, and given that Suj is West Ham, and Suj was saying, I think James asked him, "What do you think about this game?" And Suj said, "We'll win." And James was like, "Oh, come on, you're out of form, blah blah." And Suj like, "No, we have to win." There's no they have to win, because if they had lost that game at home at Southampton, they are dead and buried. But now it's all on again.
Fornals is one that's on my radar.
Fornals, why?
Simply because he really worked hard in this game and he played really well. Okay. So from the bits that I did see of this game, he was really good. And I'm, as I said to you earlier, I'm looking for a way into these bottom clubs. And because I'm looking at Aubameyang and I'm looking at Fernandes and I'm looking at all these other expensive assets, that means that I'm looking at the slightly cheaper ones in the relegation battle that might just pop up and be counted. Okay. And I feel like Fornals might, maybe, and it's still a radar thing because we were expecting it all season and it hasn't come yet, but last couple I felt he looked better. Okay, alright, well listen, we're at the hour mark, we've got loads and loads to discuss. I wasn't intending to go through quite so many games, but there's just lots and lots to talk about. Lucky we had less games this week.
Lots and lots to talk about. Let's do a couple of community questions, and then we'll go on to announce our February Patreon Manager of the Month, and then we'll do our teams. Let's address this question then in terms of when's the best time to play your wildcard. So Sean Thorpe, thank you Sean for the question over in Slack. He's saying, when are you thinking of playing the wildcard if you still have it? Is it now? Is it before 31? Is it 32 to 34? Or do you want to play it kind of at the end for a late surge? Very, very briefly, because you've touched on it already, you're thinking next week.
I don't like the late one, simply because you never really know what's going to happen in terms of clubs that suddenly stop playing, there's rotation, all of that kind of stuff. So I don't really like the late one. I don't feel it adds as much value. I would like to play it in 30 because I feel like we'll then know what the FA Cup fixtures are going to look like. We'll know what 31's going to look like, and then we'll know what roughly the rest of the season's going to look like in terms of who is likely to blank with the new cup draw for the next round.
We'll know what 31 looks like.
But we'll know for sure what 31 looks like, and we'll have a good guess at what the game weeks that follow look like in terms of the next round of the FA Cup. So for me, 30 feels like the prime moment because it means I can make a firm decision on my strategy with the free hit chip. Am I doing it in 31 or am I wildcarding for a team for 31? Knowing that I can then, because that will see me through to the end of the season, and then I can use my free hit in the doubles for coming up, which is, I would prefer it that way. A free hit in the doubles feels more ballsy, and a bit more gung ho. And I kind of feel like if I'm ever going to finish in the top 1k, this is the season to do it. And a ballsy free hit in a double game week feels like an
aggressive free hit rather than a defensive one.
Yeah, and I feel like if a free hit in 31, it's a defensive free hit. Now that's not necessarily a bad thing, and depending upon what happens in the FA Cup, will make my firm decision. But my current plan is for a 30 wildcard.
Okay, all right. And I guess from my perspective, I don't currently have any plans to play it, although my team is looking quite wildcardable right now. I could see me playing it this week, honestly, because I just think I could see me playing it, and then once I know the outcome of the FA Cup on Thursday, Friday, I can start setting my team up then for the weeks to come. I've got Traore that's a problem. I want Doherty rather than Bolly. The double Liverpool defence I'm less keen on right now, to be honest with you, without Henderson and with Fabinho not playing well. I've got Vardy in there that I think might probably going to stay because of Villa, but I do want Aubameyang instead. I've got, who else is in there? Bruno Fernandes is fine. De Bruyne's fine. Salah will stay as well. I could probably do with some Sheffield United defensive cover. So there's a few players I want to change. It's not a complete horror show, my team, but I feel like it could be wildcardable pretty soon.
Okay.
Having said that, if I don't, I will save it and team it up with the bench boost and make the most of 37.
Oh, right at the end.
Yeah, that's what. If I can save it for that long, that is when I would want to I would want to use those two together and make 37 an absolute whopper of a game week.
Interesting.
But let's see. Next question comes from Paul Dunleavy. Thank you, Paul, for the question. So he's got Vardy. Buy, sell or hold. Still has good fixtures. Still has high ownership. In a word, buy, sell or hold right now.
I sold him.
So
I don't regret it.
Gone. Sold him just before the deadline for Jimenez. Yeah, I think that's the thing, isn't it? There's the fixtures say hold for me, but the alternative options look good, don't they?
And the form says sell.
Yeah.
So the fixtures say hold, the form says sell, the alternatives say sell.
Yeah. So if you're getting him out, but bringing in an informed Calvert-Lewin or a ridiculously consistent borderline essential Jimenez, or you're bringing in maybe Ings if he shows a bit of an upturn of form, or you want Aubameyang, absolutely, then yeah, the upside is there if you want to sell him, I think. Yeah. The upside is there. It's definitely a sell if you want to sell. With Deeney back, let's see. I think the cup game might give us a bit of indication for that. Danny McDonald then. Last question. Thank you, Danny, over in Slack. He's saying, best defender to own out of this lot, Alonso, Doherty, Patrick Van Aanholt or Aaron Wan-Bissaka. For me, absolutely Matt Doherty right now. Absolutely Matt Doherty. He's the one to have, and I know there'll be a lot of Chelsea fans out there saying you've got to have Go Alonso, and it's difficult to argue against that because we know what Alonso can be like in FPL, but Matt Doherty, we also know what he can be like, and the fixtures look amazing.
More likelihood of clean sheets for Doherty than there is for Alonso.
Feels like it, doesn't it?
I feel like Doherty and Alonso might get the same number of attacking returns, but that Doherty might get the clean sheet as well, when I don't think that Alonso will.
I would trust the Wolves defence over Chelsea defence, wouldn't you?
I would too, and therefore I think there's more chance of bonus points.
Yeah, potentially.
Because he'll get attacking and clean sheet. That's why. It's not that I think Alonso's a bad pick, because I think he's a good pick right now. The form's suggesting he's a good pick. I'm just not sure the clean sheets are as solid there as they would be with Doherty.
With Bolly back, that's good news. Chelsea still got Christensen, so Yeah, and Caballero in goal. Don't know what's happened to Kepa, by the way.
I mean...
Gonna go, isn't he?
Don't you feel like Kepa... I mean, we saw it when was it that he had that strop? Last season? Didn't want to come off.
Under Sarri?
Yeah, wouldn't come off.
Last season, yeah.
And so it feels like he's got a bit of a strop in him, and you wonder whether there's been a behind-the-scenes strop. And Lampard's just gone, no, I'm not having any of this nonsense. Get back in your box.
Yeah. And
on your bench.
Fair play to Lampard. He's learned from what happened to Sarri.
Yeah.
If he sits, he's probably had his eye on Kepa. Probably.
Yeah, Kepa's
any little sign of something, he's just going.
I feel like there might have been just a little behind-the-scenes strop that's gone on there.
There we go. Well, thank you guys. Sorry for the lack of polls. I'm not sure whether this is going to be a thing going forward now. No polls on the YouTube live streams. Certainly, both Andy and I, who have done a lot of live streaming, as you guys will know, can't find a way to do polls in the new YouTube Studio software. If we find it, we'll get them back. If they're not going to include it in the live stream software, then we will do this community questions piece, because I did quite like that. So thank you guys. Thank you Slackers, Patreon followers, for the questions. Let's crown our February.
Round of applause.
Round of applause, please, for Mr. Nick Penwarden. Well done,
Nick.
Nick.
Been there for a long
good.
time.
Very, very good. Our manager of the month for February. So Nick has been, yeah, you're right. He's had a very, very good
month.
February. A very, very good month. I'll tell you what, that was close, wasn't it?
Oh, Sean.
Sean was
shout out to Sean,
close.
Because I'm telling you, if Sean had played the other keeper, he'd have pipped it.
Really? Because I think there was only 3 points in it, according to livefpl.net.
Let's say it very quietly, but Sean benched Pope again.
Sean benched Pope?
Again.
Sean,
for the second week in a row.
What a stinker.
Just a different keeper the last 2 weeks.
Well, listen, I'll tell you what, we've had some pretty close manager of the months, and we've had some managers of the month that come up right up from the last game week and pip whoever it was at first to the crown. But as much as, I love obviously fair play to all the guys that came second, third, fourth, etc. But Nick has been consistently good this month. No doubt about it.
He has been really good.
A game week score of 46. Actually not as good as Sean. Sean on 57 this game week. Goodness knows what he'd have got if he'd have played Pope in goal. Goodness me, absolutely brilliant game week. But with the score of 266, Nick takes the crown. So Nick, if you're listening, if you're watching, come find us. We'll come find you, and we will sort out your prize from our sponsors, kickingtheballs.com. You will get either a signed, won't be Spurs, well, it might be Spurs if you want it to be Spurs.
It'd be nice if someone wanted some Spurs.
It'd be nice if someone wanted Spurs. It could be a signed Spurs, or any other club, frankly. Street sign there. It could be a signed shirt like the one behind me there, the Liverpool Champions of Europe, signed by the Liverpool squad that played and the team that played in the final last year. Of course, doesn't have to be just Liverpool or Spurs paraphernalia. Kickingtheballs with 2 S's.com. Links in the description below. Get over there, and Nick will be able to choose whatever he wants from that website. And if you guys, maybe you don't want to take part in the Manager of the Month and you don't want to head over to Patreon and think about supporting us over there, that is no problem whatsoever. Kickingtheballs.com. Head over there and use the code FPL 10%, and you'll be able to get 10% off your first order.
The percent sign is important. The code will not work without it.
10%. You need the percent, yes. So, of course, all the links in the description below. If, guys, you do want to take part in our Manager of the Month for March, then of course you can head over to patreon.com/FPLFamily. All the details, the mini league code is over there, so if you come and support us at the $5 tier, not only will you get access to Slack, as we've been talking about, and the opportunity to ask questions on the live streams, you'll get access to our bonus Ohana podcast that we put out every Friday as well, and of course you'll get access to the mini league for March with the opportunity to win one of these lovely prizes. So there we go, patreon.com/FPL Family. Right, Sam, let's get on with the teams. Game week 28 was a difficult game week.
Whose is that? Is that yours or mine? I can't see.
This is your team. Game week points of 36. Total points now 1,693. Overall rank previously was 3k, and you're more or less...
that's green.
Well, I was just going to say you're more or less par, but yes, you are a green arrow up to 2.8k.
In that part of the world, a 200 place green arrow is nice.
In a game week like we've just had... Yes,
given that
absolutely.
I felt like this was a pretty horrible game week, there was a lot of, Ings, Vardy, the nonsense that was surrounding this game week.
Yes.
And with a lack of bench, because I think that's what stressed me, is that I was like getting this, is Vardy going to play? They were on the Slack going, is Ings going to play? And Caramba's like, I've looked through the Southampton team.
He loves...
Karam was amazing. So he was like, I've looked through the
pictures.
training pictures at Southampton and I can't see Danny Ings. Does anyone think this might be Danny Ings?
Show me a better couple than Karam and training pictures.
Honestly, I love it. I literally love it. It was hilarious on Friday night. I'm trying to put the kids to bed. My phone keeps binging with the Slack. The kids are like, Mummy's trying to work. I'm trying to read a story. I'm trying to deal with deadline. Oh my goodness. And it was hilarious. And so I've got Karam, his voice in my head going, Ings wasn't in training. Ings wasn't in training. Vardy might not be fit. And I'm like, I haven't got a bench for this because it's a blank.
So tell us your team though. 36 points
so
is not to be sniffed at, right?
Okay. I feel like, it's above average. It's a green arrow. There's not a lot to dislike about it, but there is quite a lot to dislike about it as well because there's a few players in there that are just kind of irritating slightly.
Dele Alli with the double-digit haul. Can't complain.
Oh, Dele, he's up there in godlike territory right now right. For this.
Anyone else in your team delivering?
Jimenez, of course.
Yeah, good transfer in this week then.
Yes, that worked well. It was well spent 4 points, and I was glad I'd held my transfer anyway for next week. So I had it to spend on Friday evening. The rest of them, Lascelles was great, obviously with a clean sheet at the back. So I've had a green arrow all weekend because even with Cantwell's 3 on Friday night, that was still giving me a little bit of a green arrow. But a lot of that, and I said it earlier, a lot of that is because I didn't take a hit. Yeah. So a lot of the people in and around me were taking hits. And as a result of that... It
felt like this game week, if you hadn't taken a hit, it felt like you were... +4 or +8 ahead, which in percentage terms was a lot this game week. Right?
If you could get 11 players out and have not taken a hit this week,
that's a win.
It felt like you were gonna be on for a green arrow. Yeah. The way that it was going,
or at least not take a dive.
Yes. Yeah. So actually, I feel like I've kind of dodged a bit of a game week 28 bullet this week.
Okay.
And I feel like I feel happier going into 29. I'm not all that happy with all of my team, but I feel like 29 is doable with this squad.
Okay. Very difficult for me to ask early thoughts on transfers because we've got so much going on with the FA Cup.
No, I do have early thoughts. So my early thought is that Firmino will go to Aubameyang this week, and potentially, depending upon what happens in the middle of the week, if I've got other fish to fry, then maybe Traore goes to Sarr this week. I don't want to take a hit, but I feel like I'm itching on a hit, and it worries me because all the things I've just said about don't take hits at the moment, and I can feel myself taking a -4 and I don't want to.
Okay, all right. Well, here's my team for the weekend. 33 points, so again, pretty much par, guys. A red arrow right now of 1k, so down from 66k, or maybe it's 65, 66, down to 67. That's why I was kind of annoyed about the Dominic Calvert-Lewin thing. I think that's why I was getting out my tree a little bit with that, because had he scored that goal, had that goal stood, probably would have been going from 66 to say 60 or maybe even 50 something. Instead, I'm proper par. Now, given the way that my team is set up, given that I'm double Liverpool defence and I captained Salah, which went catastrophically bad, obviously, on Saturday night.
Well, yeah,
none of those guys did anything. Given that Traore's shoulder keeps popping out, given that I've got, a Wolves defender, arguably the wrong one. My team really didn't perform that well at all, but as you were quite rightly saying, I didn't take any hits coming into the week, which felt like I was, even starting at 0, felt like a leg up on Friday night. I kind of tried to stay calm, and I was on the Breakfast Club with Andy on Fantasy Football Scout, and you guys, thank you for those of you guys that watched that, and he was like, oh, you've got Vardy, what are you going to do? I was like, it's the sort of game week where I don't want to take a hit. I just didn't want to do it, and I could easily have done it for Jimenez, or I could have brought somebody else in. I just thought, no, I'm just going to not take a hit, ride it out. Cantwell will come in and could get something, right?
The reality is, though, you would have taken a hit for probably Jimenez, right? Who got, 7 this week? So Cantwell would have got 3. He got 3 coming on. Jimenez would have got you 7, but -4, so it would have been the same.
Well, the challenge I've got with my front 3 is that I've got Ings, Calvert-Lewin and Vardy, right? So whereas you've got Firmino to be able to take up to Aubameyang, I would have been thinking this week about, had I done the Vardy to Jimenez, I'd probably be sitting there thinking, well, do I do Jimenez to Aubameyang?
Yeah.
And that's clearly a transfer that I don't think, Jimenez out right now is not a transfer that many people are considering. So I looked at it and I thought, well, if I do if I knee-jerk Vardy to Jimenez on the back of the news that was leaked on Friday night, I've got either major surgery to get Aubameyang in for either Calvert-Lewin or Ings, or I've got to get rid of Jimenez straight away, and that just doesn't feel right. So I thought, well, just stick with Vardy, see how it goes. Look, it's par, it's fine, I'm not delighted about it, I'm not, crying about it. What I will say is my transfer in for this game with Bruno Fernandes, and I'm very happy to have him. Very happy to have him. 10 points.
Who did you take out for
points.
Bruno?
Bruno came in for... Who did I have? I had Traore, Cantwell. Oh, Grealish, of course. Grealish, of course, went out.
Fair enough.
Whose obviously ongoing fixtures look pretty bad, and I think it was less a Grealish out. It was more I need this guy.
Yeah, it's a really good transfer.
I love him. I just think he's a great player, and I wanted him in. And I think he's a real good asset for the rest of the season. So there it is, guys. 33 points. We move on. Let's see how it goes. We've got loads to obviously think about over the next few days with FA Cup. Let's see where we are on Thursday, Friday as to whether I want to make any transfers or not. I haven't even got any thoughts yet as to who I want to bring in. But Doherty, he is right there in the middle of my radar. Right there in the middle. I think he could be very, very good indeed. Just a word for how our schedule is looking for the next week or so. Plenty more FPL family goodness coming your way with Sam on the FPL pod, the official FPL pod.
I am actually
with
going
James
to be on this week.
Richardson. You are actually going to be on this week.
Yeah.
That's Thursday. Usually gets released on Friday, so look out for that. You'll also get our Patreon supporters will get another Ohana podcast as well from us on Friday, so look out for that as well, Patreon supporters. And of course on Friday night, Brandon and Josh from the Always Cheating podcast will be here in London, in Farringdon, which is very easy for us to get home from, which is excellent news.
There's going to be bubbles.
There will be Prosecco. There will be yawning, potentially. And
no, I'll be alright. It's on Friday night. I've got a whole day to get over it. By Sunday, I'll be fine.
So there we go, guys. If you want to come along to Josh and Brandon's little Friday night soiree.
FPL soiree.
They have. It's another FPL meetup, which
I didn't meet them last time.
Absolutely love doing. And the guys will be at a bar called the Coin Laundry in Farringdon on Friday night. If you go and follow them on Twitter at Hail Cheaters, at HAIL Cheaters, and most of you guys, I'm pretty sure, that are listening to this will be following the boys, Brandon and Josh. If you're not, head over to at Hail Cheaters. Go follow them. Have a look down their timeline. I'm pretty sure they're going to be tweeting about it between now and next Friday when they're over here in the UK. We will see you there. If you can come along. We'll be there.
Hello.
And I think quite a few of the FPL community, according to Twitter, will be there. I suspect quite a lot of the Christmas crew that tended to come along to the Who Got the Assists Christmas soiree might also be making an appearance. I don't know, actually. I'd imagine he lives in London now.
He's not coming.
Oh.
Because he's running a half marathon the next day.
Oh, he is. Yes, you're right. Good luck with that, Harry.
Yeah.
That's excellent work.
Harry, good luck.
But if you
are... need to sponsor him. I must
if you are in the London area and you do want to take part in the Always Cheating FPL meetup at the Coin Laundry on Friday night, then we will see you there.
Come and say hello to us.
Come and have a Prosecco with us. It'll be good fun.
Oh. I mean, I can't guarantee that if I have too many, you got to bring me home.
That's true. That is very, very true. So there we go. That is the end of another FPL family. A bit of a slightly elongated FPL family because, of course, we had the community questions thing to figure out. Thanks for bearing with us a little bit on the technology. I've got to get my head round a little bit this YouTube new studio thing and how we figure out how we do polls and all that sort of stuff. If indeed we can do polls, I don't know. We also had this scheduling thing where I don't know if you guys noticed, but there was a countdown to when we were going to be live. That's kind of cool. We had people in the live.
Kind of important.
Well, listen, we had people in the live chat at 7:30 in the lead up to 8:00. People getting in early, guys. If you got in early in the live chat, thank you for doing that. Before you go, there's our Twitter on the left-hand side, at FPL Family. I haven't even mentioned the Instagram, at FPL. Before you go, shout out for the Facebook. Yes, of course, the Facebook is also there. Search FPL Family on Facebook. There's some stuff going on over there as well. Until this time, next week, we'll either see you in London, in Farringdon, at the Coin Laundry with the Always Cheating meetup on Friday, in person, or we'll see you right back here, Sunday night, 8 p.m, for another FPL Family next week. Cheers, guys. See you soon.
Bye, guys.